Hello and welcome to Vintage Horror Movies, where we provide commentary, analysis, and critiques of older horror movies. This week we're talking about film's first creature feature. The Golem, How He Came into the World is a 1920 German Expressionist film. The movie was directed by Paul Wegener and Karl Boese, co-written by Paul Wegener and Henrick Galeen, who also did the screenplay for Nosferatu, produced by Paul Davidson, based on a 1915 book by Gustav Meyrink, cinematographer Karl Freund, who also did Lang's 1927 Metropolis, and F.W. Murnau's 1924 The Last Laugh. Freund went on to work at Universal Pictures in Hollywood, where he was a cinematographer for 1931's Dracula and directed The Mummy in 1932. He was also a cinematographer on I Love Lucy, beginning in 1951. He designed the flat light system that became standard for shooting with multiple camera sitcoms, which was essential when shooting in front of a live audience. He also pioneered many other film techniques, including the unchained camera and putting a camera on a crane. This movie stars Paul Wegener as the Golem, so basically he did everything in this movie. Co-wrote, directed, starred, you name it, he did it. Also starring is Albert Steinrunk as Rabbi Lowe, Lida Salmanova as Miriam, Ernst Deutsch as Lowe's assistant, Famulus, and Lothar Muthel as Squire Florian. The runtime of this movie is 86 minutes. This movie is actually the third Golem movie that Wegener did. The other two, called Just the Golem in 1915 and The Golem and the Dancing Girl in 1970. Both movies were thought lost to time, but fragments of the 1915 version has been found. Where to find this movie? It's on Internet Archive, Classic Film Time Channel, YouTube, Amazon. I think you can rent it for 99 cents, or it's free if you trial the Kino Film Collection. Rotten Tomatoes scores: critics gave it 100%, audiences gave it a 72%. The Golem is in the public domain and has been released in many different versions with different scores. So the basic plot is the film is set in a Jewish ghetto in 15th century Prague. Rabbi Lowe, a scholar and a scientist, is the head of the Jewish community. The emperor signs a decree declaring the Jews must leave the city before the new moon. He says he is expelling them due to their not observing Christian holidays and practicing black magic. Squire Florian is sent out to tell the people of the decree. He sees Lowe's daughter Miriam and falls in love with her. Lowe tries to figure out a way to save his people. He makes a creature out of clay. He is able to bring the golem to life by summoning the spirit Astaroth, who is, I guess, a demon, and making him say the magic word that will bring life. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this right, Ameet, Aemaet. The word is then written on a piece of paper and enclosed in an amulet that's inserted in the golem's chest. The emperor invites Lowe to the Rose Festival, and so Lowe takes the golem with him, and the people are afraid but are also impressed, and the emperor asks for something else impressive. Lowe says he will show them the history of his people, but they must promise to be silent or something terrible will happen. So we see in a video above them the people crossing the desert with horses and camels and whatever. But of course, the people start laughing and the building begins to collapse. The golem props up the building and saves everyone's life. The emperor is thankful and pardons the Jews. Back at home, the golem starts to act erratically, and Lowe reads in the stars that the golem will soon turn on its creator. The assistant finds Florian in bed with Miriam. He wants the golem to throw Florian out, but instead the golem throws him off the roof and sets Lowe's house on fire and takes off with Miriam and he drags her around town by her hair. Lowe is able to perform some sort of ritual that makes Astaroth leave the golem, thus making him harmless. More on that a little bit later. The golem spots the little girl and picks her up, and then she removes the amulets from his chest and he falls down. The townspeople rejoice. Lowe has saved them for a second time. They march through the streets. The assistant says to Miriam that he will not tell of her fling with Florian and ask her to forgive him. Looks like those two are going to hook up. Lowe stores the decommissioned golem in the attic in case he needs him later. And that's it. The last scene is a Star of David. Okay, remakes. So the golem is a creature from ancient Jewish folklore, so the story has been told and retold many times. And there are lots of movies that contain a golem. There was an unofficial remake of this movie in 1936. It was a French film called Le Golem, and the director was Julien Deviere, and it was extremely low budget. We'll talk about a few of the other movies in a second. There was also a horror movie from 2018 called Golem by Israeli directors Dorian and Yov Paz, and there was a British 1960 film called It, where somehow the Golem of Prague ended up in a British museum. And then, of course, we have the character of Golem from Lords of the Ring and The Hobbit. And golems have also appeared in lots of TV shows, including Supernatural, Grimm, Sleepy Hollow, Gargoyles, The Magicians, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Legacies, The Order, and even an episode of The X-Files. On to a little bit of trivia. The term golem was used as a Let me start that again. The term golem is sometimes used in a pejorative way. A golem is a moronic person who is easily manipulated. As I said before, this is considered the first creature feature. Rabbi Lowe was a real person. He was a Kabbalist scholar who lived in Prague from 1513 to 1609. He's also been referenced in a number of other works. There's a statue of him near the Jewish ghetto in Prague, and locals refer to him as the Exalted One. In the original folklore, the Hebrew word emet, E-M-E-T, was scrawled on the golem's forehead to bring it to life. When the rabbi wanted to stop the golem, he removed the first letter of the word, which left met, meaning death. So the A-E-M-A-E-T we see in this movie is actually German for E-M-E-T. But in this film, the word is written on a piece of paper and put in an amulet in the gargoyles in the golem's chest instead of being written on his forehead. The term golem appears once in the Bible in Psalms 139:16. There, the term golem is used to reference an unformed or embryonic state. In the Talmud, the concept is further developed. It's used as a term to describe Adam before he was given a soul. During World War II, Wegener helped the Nazis produce propaganda films. Ironic, since he is most well known for a Jewish film. It has been reported that he secretly helped the resistance and hid Jews. Cinematographer Freund, writer Galeen, and producer Davidson were all Jewish, as were actors playing Rabbi Lowe and his assistant. And as I've said previously in other episodes, a number of Jewish people, filmmakers, and people involved in filmmaking fled Germany for the U.S. In the movie, the Jews were expelled for practicing black magic, but that's actually what Lowe did to bring the golem to life. Is the Golem a horror movie? Well, technically the horror genre didn't exist until 1931's Dracula, but some of these themes are definitely horror, such as the scientist. He's not a mad scientist here, but a scientist, the monster who goes off the rails, the crazy assistant, etc. The Golem is also considered the first film franchise by some, since the 1921 film is a sequel of the 1915 film. And then, of course, we also have the other film, 1970s, The Golem and the Dancing Girl. The woman who gives the flower to the golem at the Rose Festival is Greta Schroeder, who starred as Ellen in Nosferatu in 1922. She also married Wegener in 1924. He was married 6 times total, twice to 2 different women. Also, Lydia Salmanova, who plays the rabbi's daughter Miriam, was married to Wagner at the time of the filming. She's the other woman that divorced and remarried him twice. She was married to him the last time until his death in 1948. Rabbi Lowe is part of a long tradition of characters who have good intentions but use questionable means to get there, and then something goes horribly wrong. This also includes Faust, which we covered previously, and his deal with the devil, as well as Dr. Frankenstein and his monster. Should you watch this movie? I would say yes, definitely. The Golem is a prototype of the creature feature monster film. It's also said to be a key influence in the 1931's Frankenstein, especially the creation scene, the scene with the little girl and the monster's appearance. He's a big hulking figure and he has really tall shoes, which is very similar to Frankenstein. Also, we have themes explored here, including unchecked power, responsibility, discrimination, creation, etc. And this movie is also considered a classic due to its visually stunning expressionist sets. You see when they're outside a number of the crooked buildings, like we saw in other German expressionist films, such as The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. It also has innovative spatial effects and a powerful performance by Wagner as the Golem. This movie does drag a bit in the middle, but it's really not that long, so um, just ignore that. It's definitely worth watching. And here in this scene, we have the Golem coming to life. So that's it for the Golem. Please rate, review, and subscribe if you like what you're hearing. I'd also be interested to hear your thoughts about this movie in the comments. And until next time, be careful if you run into a golem, because sometimes they're pretty temperamental. Until next time, bye. Hello, and welcome to Vintage Horror Movies, where we provide commentary, analysis, and critiques of older horror movies.